And it's time to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, teaching English online, privacy, security, and safety. Great to have you with us today. Coming to you from sunny Serbia, we are the Regional English Language Office. And that's me, and that's Ivana. Wave to the fans, Ivana. There she is. And you can always follow us on Relo Belgrade Facebook. We have security tips. Make sure you check to see that your Zoom is up to date. And we are recording this webinar, so it's a good idea if you have your full name in your video window to change it if you don't want people to know your full name. And to do that, if you hover above your little rectangle, as I'm doing right now, you can rename. So I'm going to go from Kevin McCoy to Kevin the Guy. Kevin the Guy. Okay, we're going to suggest quite a few online platforms today, and we usually look for free versions that are going to be useful to teachers around the world, but we're not endorsing them officially. We just think that they work for us. The toolbar, if you're familiar with Zoom, and most of you are, you'll know your toolbar has the chat box, and we'd love to hear from people like Gilka Quero Arroyo, who's coming to us from the Philippines right now. It must be late in the Philippines. All right, our special guest today is Elizabeth Plummer. She has a doctorate in English education, in ESL education, and she's a specialist in computer-assisted language learning, and she's here today in our studio audience, which means she's coming to us from California. So welcome back for day 2 of the course. Take it over, Elizabeth.
We are here. We're here at day 2. Wow! We're gonna go swimming today. Do you guys remember the song from yesterday? Let's go swimming, let's go swimming. Yeah, let's go swimming. Let's go swimming, let's go swimming in the bottom of the ocean. That song is one of my daughter and mine favorites, and it's linked in our resources, which will be available tomorrow. So there'll be a whole list of all of these kinds of resources that I'm using, including this presentation software, as well as that song if you want to learn it and teach it to your students. It's great. So today, I hope that you brought your paper and your pen so you can write notes and participate today in our session. Today, if you have it, we also are going to do a couple of activities with our phones. So if you have it, you need to run up and get it. Make sure you put it on silent so that it doesn't distract you. So we're going to use that later. And we're ready. Are you ready? We got to do our high five. Ready? Let me see those high fives. Where are high fives? Yes. This is a raccoon if you've never seen this animal before. Where I am right now, we have lots of raccoons. I see the high fives in our chat box. Yes? Oh, we have lots of raccoons. Raccoons are all over the place here. And they're not as cute as that, giving high fives. Usually they're in your trash. Today we're talking about our digital footprint. When I think about our digital footprint, I think about taking a walk. I love walking on the beach. I don't know if any of you guys like walking on the beach. This is a beach in Mauritius. And when you walk on the beach, or when you walk in other places, without your shoes on or with your shoes on, if you look behind you, you leave imprints in the ground And sometimes they're very deep imprints, and sometimes there's not very much. You also take something with you. When you're walking on the beach, you take sand with you. If you're walking in the mud, you take mud with you. So you take things with you. And this is what I think about when I think about our digital footprint. The things that you leave behind are that digital footprint, the things you're leaving behind in the sand. The things you take with you are your cookies. That's what sites leave on your devices. We talked yesterday about how it's not a great name. They call it cookies, but that's the name they gave it. That would be an interesting discussion in your class. This kind of cookie or this kind of cookie? Which do you like better? I'd love that debate. So we're going to have a poll here. Does a digital footprint or cookie leave the most information? So sometimes they call a cookie a fingerprint. Sometimes they call it a fingerprint, a cookie or a fingerprint. I like that name better. So Kevin's going to get our poll out there. Which do you think leaves the most behind? Our digital footprint or a cookie? Which do you think leaves the most information? A digital footprint, a digital cookie? If you're joining us on Facebook Live, you can put that in the chat box. Do you think it's a digital footprint or a digital cookie? There we go. There's our polling.
Yeah, now you should be able to do
Yeah,
it.
now it's going. So the things we leave behind or the things that are left on our computer or our other device. It looks like most people think the things we leave behind, a digital footprint. Yeah, looks like we're about there. That 59% think that, 58, 59, we're sort of hovering around there. Think a digital footprint leaves more. And 41, cookie. We have some nice people responding in the chat box. Okay.
Those are your final results.
So we're going to try to answer that question today because it depends. It depends. So I pulled this comic, and this comic is linked in the resources that you'll get tomorrow if you want to use it in your classroom. So here we have, before we begin, please accept the annual license agreement, right? We talked about that yesterday. You got to click the box, so what if I don't want to do it? Yeah, so then the site tells her, our time together will come to an abrupt and certain end. So basically the site is saying, if you don't agree, then you can't use the materials on our site. So she says, okay, but just know I click now under duress. Duress, that'd be a great word. Do you know what duress is? Do you guys have ideas of what that word is in our chat box? What does duress mean? Duress. Did you read the agreement? We had that question yesterday. Yeah, and she says, why bother? Resistance is futile. That's a great pop culture reference. So great pop culture reference to Star Trek. Resistance is futile, meaning no matter what you do, they're gonna get you. So resisting it is pointless. Yeah, so we have some ideas. Duress, forced, stress, pressure, constraints. Yeah, those are great ideas for duress. So this is a great comic that you can use in your classroom that is available online for free. You just have to keep the attributions here. It's Writer's Block by the Wills, is the comic that addresses this very thing we're talking about, you know. So if it's resistance and it's futile, meaning that why should we try? We should look more closely at what kinds of things we're leaving behind and what kinds of things we're taking with us. Because I think that it's not futile, that there are steps that we can take to protect ourselves. There are steps we can take to protect ourselves. And because of that, we need high fives. Yes, we need high fives because there are steps we can take. And I put this recipe in today's resources, High Five Cookies. High Five Cookies, that's by Good Thing by David. So if you want to make High Five Cookies, that recipe is linked in our course site for today. So where are high fives? Yeah, there is something we can do. Yeah. There is. I love those high fives, because there is something we can do. And I'm going to show you what you can do today, okay? And how we can think about it. So this is how I think about it. There are some things that are less intrusive, and there are some things that are more intrusive. We want to sit in our least intrusive sites and resources as much as possible. It's not possible to completely sit in there all of the time. The more time that we can sit over here, the better our privacy is going to be protected, the safer we are. So the more time we can spend here. So when you're looking at different things, think about where it is on this continuum. Now I'm going to talk about only a few specific areas. That doesn't mean that there aren't things in between, because there are things all across here. So think about when you're looking at something, where is it on this scale in terms of the least intrusive items to the most intrusive items? So let's start here with our least intrusive. And for me, I think the least intrusive is browsing on the internet. Now it's only that way if you're not logged in to your account on the browser. So this particular browser here, Google Chrome, it can be linked to your Google account. So if you are logged into your Google account, it's no longer over here. It's now over here. But if you're not logged into your Google account, then you're sitting over here. So if you're just browsing, yes. Okay. So the biggest challenge, which is browsing, is that it leaves cookies on your devices. So when you're just browsing on the internet, what is left on your device is more than what you leave behind, right? What's left on your device is more than what you leave behind because they leave cookies. This is an example of a cookie browser. Have you guys ever seen Cookie Browser before? Yes. I've seen lots of them. So this is one example, example one. This is example two. This page uses cookies. Read more, and you click all right. Example two. Example one. Look at how more options you have. Use only necessary cookies, allow selection, allow all cookies. Which one, option one or option two, do you think that you would be more likely to protect yourself if you saw it? So if I saw option one, option two, which one do you think? The one where you can choose the different things that you can opt in or out, or the one where you have to go to a link in order to do that and you just hit all right? Yeah, we see option one. Someone's never seen option one? I did pull it from an actual website, so it does exist. It does exist out there. Not as often as you see these kinds. Not as often as you see. Kevin the guy asks, why Are necessary cookies necessary? Necessary cookies, that's a great point. Here we are, necessary cookies. Use only necessary cookies. And they are things that are required in order for the site to work. Yeah, someone said option 1 is more present since GDPR, which we talked a little bit about yesterday, which is the law that protects you as an EU citizen. Yeah, so sites determine these cookies are necessary in order for me to work and in order for things to function. So this one, you'd have to go to read more to know what kind of cookies that they're collecting and to opt out of them. The second is default. Yeah, this is great. Great discussion. So what about this? Have you guys seen this before in your web browser? Something that says show notifications? Yeah, yeah. I always block notifications because we're trying to leave as much behind. I always block them. You never know what kind of notifications you're going to get and if you're going to be sorry later. If later I want to have a notification from something, I'll go in and I'll change my preferences, but I never ever say allow. I never say allow. If you click, someone asked about this one, if you click all right, you don't read more, what happens? If you click all right, you're agreeing to their cookie policy, that they can collect your cookies. That's a great point. Anytime you click all right, or sometimes they just put an X in the corner and you just close out of it, same thing. They click an X, you close out of it, you've just agreed to their cookie policy. And they can collect all of the things that they say in their policy. So if you don't click opt out, can you go back and block them? Yes, you can go back and block them. Every site has to give you the opportunity to be able to do that. It doesn't have to be as easy and transparent as this is. It just has to be transparent. And having a link like this fulfills the GDPR. So somewhere on the site will be something that allows you to opt out. That's
Elizabeth?
a great question. Yes.
We got another good question from Antonio. He wants to know why they need to know his location when he's just browsing. You know,
why does someone need to? Yeah. So most sites don't need to know your location when you're just browsing. Most of them don't. So when I'm just browsing, I turn off location services. If they ask you for location services and they say it's not going to work without it, then there's got to be something on the site that's tied to your location. So one of the most commons is you use maps. You use some sort of map program, and you want to search based on your location. And it will ask you to turn on location services. You don't actually have to turn on location services. Yesterday we talked about convenience and privacy. It's more convenient to have location services on because it automatically searches based on your location. But you can turn location services off and then search and tell it where you want it to search in the location. That's a little bit more private, a little bit more secure, but they still know where you're searching in terms of the location. They just can't pinpoint you exactly. Just a little bit more. Whether or not it's worth it to you or not is up to you. It's worth it to me. So it's worth it to me. Yesterday, they cleaned out their cookies and was booted from yesterday's Zoom session. Yep, I'm going to show you how you can do it today. But if you're in your web browser, you don't want to actually clear your cookies because it will kick you out of everything when you do it that you're in. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how you do it. One of the things I miss about South Africa is tea time. So it's tea time. Before we have our break, who likes tea time? I want to see some, yes, do you like tea time? tea time and cookies or biscuits. Tea time and cookies, biscuits. I love tea time. Yes, yes. Oh, some people like coffee. I don't drink coffee, but I love people who drink coffee. Biscuits more than tea. Yes, yes, biscuits. Black tea and milk. Oh, yes. I love it. I love our shared love of tea. I actually had my last cup of rooibos tea from South Africa that I brought when we were emergency evacuated out yesterday. And I must get some more bulletproof coffee. So my browser does what to protect me and my students? This is where we're gonna look and see how can we protect ourselves in our browser. So let me share my screen here while you guys are talking about tea and coffee. I'm going to use Google Chrome because Google Chrome is quite common. These kinds of settings are in all web browsers. So when I go and I'm here in Google Chrome, there's this 3 more in the top right. And I'm looking for settings. Sometimes they call it preferences. Sometimes they call it preferences. I love it. So here in Google Chrome, they have a thing called privacy and security. And this is where all the cookies, all of your saved passwords, third-party cookies, safe browsing, this is where it all is. This is where the magic happens in Google Chrome. So Google does this. They have cookies and they have all of that stuff for the people who pay for the internet. And those are advertisers. Advertisers pay for the internet. So they want all this data so that they can have better advertising. So if I want to get rid of my cookies, I just go clear browsing data. I tell it how long of all time, last hour, last 24 hours. Maybe you did something in the last hour that you want to get rid of. So there's 3 options here: browsing history, cookies and other site data, and cached images and files. I always get rid of my cached images and files. A lot of viruses end up on images and files, so I always get rid of those. Cookies and other site data. One of the things that makes this less convenient is that it signs you out of most sites. So you have to sign back in to those sites. And that's not as convenient as being signed in. And then your browsing history, which are the pages that you viewed. Did you know that they collect the last pages you viewed? That's how they make your advertising so specific. Like you'll be looking at a product on one site and maybe not buy it. And then 2 pages later, you'll see an advertisement for it. That's a cookie. Does it give more space on your computer when you clear your cookies? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It gives more space. Kevin the Guy brings up a good point. You lose some convenience if you delete cookies, although it's convince, the way it was spelled. Beautiful, convenience. I think they meant convenience. You lose some convenience. Okay, so don't actually do this. This is where it is. In your settings. Every web browser has this. How often should I delete this? Well, I do it once a week. So I recommend doing it once a week. Maybe you don't like putting in your password once a week. When I'm teaching my students, I have them clear it after every session. So there's a great question. Do we lose any important thing if we clear cookies? If you don't lose anything important, because all of that information is still saved. So if you're in an account, signed into an account, you don't lose that. What you lose is the convenience of having it already there. That's what you lose. I do more than delete cache images. Once a week, I do this all. So I come in here once a week. I come up here, I say of all time, and I clear the data of everything. My browsing history, my cookies and other site data, and cached images and files of all data once a week. Okay, I want to talk briefly about third-party cookies. So last week I played around with this, block third-party cookies. So third-party cookies are things that not the site collects, but that their partners collect on your site in your tracking. So if you block third-party cookies all the time, your sites might not work. So sites can use cookies to improve your browsing experience, for example, to keep you signed in or to remember items in your shopping cart. That's what they can still do. But they can't use your cookies to see browsing activity across different sites, for example, to personalize ads. And features on some sites may break. So with the work that I do, this happens. Features on some sites break. I'm not able to complete the work that I do. So if you've blocked all 30 third-party cookies and a site isn't working, this might be why. This might be why. So you have to decide, do I want to block all third-party cookies or only in incognito? I'm going to talk briefly about incognito mode. So we're going to open it up. They sometimes call it private. There's a lot of discussion about incognito. It doesn't save your information, you know, it keeps yourself private. There are several lawsuits going on right now about incognito that it doesn't actually do what it says because they're still collecting all of this information. You know, websites you visit can still collect information. Your employer or school can still see. Your internet service provider can still see, right? So it's not completely private. Should my students be using incognito? I think it's more important because browsers always change to teach your students how to clear their cookies and cache than to teach them about private mode and incognito. I think that's a better safety measure and secure when you're talking about students. Incognito, no longer incognito. Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about incognito. What it doesn't save is your browsing history and information you enter in forms. So it gives a little bit of extra security, but you can also get that by deleting your cookies and cache. Okay, I want to move on because we have other great things going on today. So, teaching our students how to delete cookies, how to delete the caches, right? Protecting on our browser, yes, our browser. So this was an example last week of a site. It tells you how many third-party cookies are blocks. 347 for this site. 347. That tells you the sheer number of cookies that some sites collect. 347. This is a site I go to all the time. Every time I go there, 347 cookies are put on my computer. 300. It's totally amazing. Okay, can you guys think of any sites you can download teaching materials for free with just browsing?
That's a great question.
Just browsing. Because we're there, we want least intrusive. Let's put in the chat box, in the Facebook Live chat box, any sites that you can download teaching materials for free with just browsing.
So you don't have to sign in, right? Or create an account.
No sign in, no email address required to look at, to download materials. Breaking news, busy teachers, Dave's Cafe, ESL Dave's Cafe.
Yay, Maria.
Facebook, some people get their materials for Facebook. Facebook is not for free with just browsing. You have to sign into your Facebook account. Wikipedia, Voice of America, British Council, Tools for Educators. Yeah, those are some great ideas. My favorite place to download materials without signing in is American English. American English, yeah, American English. That's my favorite place. Hopefully you guys have been to American English. You can download thousands of materials without signing in, So that's in our least intrusive, yeah? And because it's so awesome, we get a double high five, double high fives. Yeah, we're our double high fives because we love American English. Ivana put the link in the chat box for American English. No sign-in needed. No sign-in needed.
And also, you're not allowed to pay for anything on American English. There's no way to collect any money. You have to take everything for free. I'm sorry to tell you that.
Everything is free. Okay, so we're finishing here, and these are my tips for limiting cookie collection. Don't browse while logged into an account connected to a browser, like your Google account. You opt out of cookies and notifications. Clear your cookies, browser history, and cache every week, and block third-party cookies if possible, if you can do it. Okay, so we spent a lot of time on that. So it's time to move on to our next least intrusive. It's still not quite in our most intrusive, but it's, I only need to provide an email address. I only need to provide an email address. That's the second one here. Only need to provide an email address. That's not quite like just browsing, but still not way over here. You're not providing a whole lot. So we have a poll coming out there. How many email addresses do you have? If you're on Facebook Live, you can put it in the chat box if you want. If you don't, that's okay. Protect your privacy. Let's get that poll out there. How many email addresses do you have? A lot of people are sitting in that 2 to 4. We have some in the 5 to 10. We have a few that have more than 20. I'm in that group, more than 20. Welcome to our group, more than 20 email addresses. I think we're mostly sitting in that 2 to 4. 2 to 4, that's where most of us are sitting, about 75% in the 2 to 4. That's great. That's so great. We have our results here, 76%, 2 to 4, 2 to 4. So a few 5 to 10, and those 3 in the more than 20. Yeah, more than 20 group. I love it. I love it.
So participants can't see the results. I'm going to share them right now. And that's our total.
Perfect. Love it. I ended up back, a few back when I moved back. Okay, so email
You going to tell us how many email accounts you have, Elizabeth?
Last week I had 32. And this week I have 35.
Oh, because of this course?
Not because of this course, because of the kind of work that I do. So 35. I started work with 3 additional universities this week. And so I have to have email addresses for each university.
It's great. Great question from Magdalena. Why can't we have only one? And I think you're going to get to that, aren't you?
That is a great question. So I recommend you have 4, 3 to 4. So the first one is for your personal things, things that are really important to you, really important to you. I have an email address that I've had since 1998 for my personal thing. Only people that I care about and that I know really well have this email address. I get emails from people I haven't seen in 20 years because I keep this only my personal email address.
Sorry, Elizabeth, we lost your Prezi video. Do you?
Oh,
There, that's
is it
good.
there?
You're on. You're on.
Perfect. Thank you. Switching back and forth. There we go. Personal. Haha, that looks better. Probably looked a little funny without it. The second one is my professional account. Now, as I just found, I have a lot of professional accounts, but you need to have at least one. It keeps your personal and your professional life separate. Not only is it good for your work-life balance, so that when you are not working, you can ignore that email, but also it helps to keep your data separate. So when you sign up for things, they're not connecting the two accounts, and that makes your footprint smaller. It makes your footprint smaller. The third one is for account signups. So this is things that I care about. I want to sign up for it. I want to get notifications via email. But I don't want those things connected to my personal or professional, because again, it creates a wider profile for you. And then the last one is for my junk subscription, is what I call them. I must get to, in order to get to the site, I have to put an email address in it. I get something like 10,000 emails a month to this junk subscriptions. I go in once a month, I delete them out. I don't even worry about it. When I set this up, I didn't use my real email address. Why didn't I use? I didn't use my real birth date. That's what I meant, my real birth date. Why didn't I use my real birth date? Because that's one piece of information that they can connect this address to these accounts. If they don't have my real birth date, this account isn't connected to these. It's not connected to these. They have data miners out there who have your information, and they'll take your birth date and identifying information from your accounts and connect them and create a full profile. So when I sign up for these sort of junk subscription email and things, I don't use my real birth date, because every day is my birthday. Hopefully every day is your birthday too. Yeah, so we have a lot of bears here too, and bears give great big high fives. Where's our big high fives? Because we're gonna have more than one email address so that we can protect our privacy and keep our information separate. Keep our information separate. Happy birthday, thank you. So the next thing is a little bit more intrusive. We have to sign up for an account, meaning we have to provide some personal information, such as our name, our birth date, perhaps our location, an email address. That's a little bit more intrusive. You see how that's a little bit more intrusive than the others? Now you're signing up for accounts. And what are you going to do? You have all these passwords to remember. Do you? This is from our survey. I use different passwords for my online accounts. So only 24.4% of you have all these passwords to remember. 37.2% have some variations in the passwords. We're not going to talk about that 10.7%. By the end of this, all of you will use different passwords for your online accounts. Passwords is one thing that you can do to protect your security that you should be teaching your students. I use and teach my students to use a password vault. These are 3 of my favorite password vaults. Each one of them works in a different way. Why is a password vault better than having it on my computer in a document or having it in a notebook? Your computer and your notebook is one level of security, one. They only have to get into your computer. They have access to all your passwords. They only have to access your notebook that you've left somewhere. They have access to all your passwords. These password vaults use at least 3 levels of security. So they have to get into 3 different places in order to access your information. If I was looking for information, that's not where I would look. I would look on your computer, 1 versus 3. So I'm going to show Passgator. This is sort of how it works. In one, you sign in. It's a web page on the internet. And two is what comes up. That's all that's on the page other than the logout. I sign in, I search. I like Passgator because I can hide things. If I don't put my bank password, which is not in my password vault, in case you want to try to find it, and I don't label it bank, I label it Jujubes. Someone who comes here and they search for bank, they can't get my password. So if they happen to breach the security, I have that extra layer. And then three is when I search for a password, this is what comes up. I must copy my password and put it in. So this is a little bit less convenient of a password vault. It gives you your username and your password and you copy and paste. Passcode is the same as password. There's that question, is passcode the same as password? Yes, they are the same. Passcode and password are the same for our purposes. This one is one of the least convenient password vaults, but one of the most secure types of password vaults because they don't connect to anything else, to any of those third-party platforms. So it's a little bit more protection, a little bit less convenient. This is a password vault that's very common, that's very well liked, called LastPass. In one, you log in. It's an extension on your browser, meaning that it's something that you add to your browser. In two, you go to a site. Here I went to Schoology, and you see on the right the little icons for the password vault. And when you click on that three, it pulls down and it tells you if you have any saved passwords or form fills, and it will autofill for you. So this is a little bit more convenient. Still has those levels of security, but it allows you to autofill. So instead of copying and pasting, so it's a little bit faster, a little bit more convenient. The third password vault is very similar to LastPass. LastPass is hosted in the cloud, meaning some server somewhere, and you can find out where the servers are. MyKey, which is the third one, it keeps the stuff offline on your device. So for people who don't want their stuff sitting in the cloud, that third option, MyKey. So those are all linked. So I teach my students the importance of keeping passwords a secret. We're doing pretty good, 47.2%, 47.2%, pretty good. How do I know for sure that the tools don't remember my password and data too? So the password tools, one of the things I didn't mention, the master password for your password vault, it doesn't keep it. So if you lose that master password, you can't access your vault. They can't recover it. It's gone. There's no way for them to recover it. And that's a level of security. So you need to make sure that you remember that master password. It's not easy to guess because that's one of the levels of security that they have. So high fives for password vaults. We're going to use password vaults. We're going to teach our students to use password vaults, yes, so that we can help keep our things. Yes. So the next thing is social media. It's social media. The loss of control, especially in social media, is frequently the result of explicit acts. Making a video call, sharing something on Facebook, uploading pictures to Instagram, sending an email to a Google user. We may expect some privacy, but we know we've given something up and we've left a clear imprint at each of these individual services. Social media is the place we leave most of those kinds of imprints out in sort of cyberspace, that we leave most of those kinds of imprints. So because we spend a lot of time on social media, I wanted to today focus on how do we keep this stuff secret, and tomorrow we're gonna talk about how do I keep ourselves safe on social media and teach our students about social media. So we're gonna do that tomorrow, preview for tomorrow on social media. So Ivana's gonna post this link in our chat box. You're going to go to One Time Secret, onetimesecret.com. So open that in your web browser. In the box where it says secret, content go here's, write an encouraging message. It asks you for a passphrase. Don't put a passphrase. Click on create secret link and post your link in our chat box. And then you're going to see if you can be the first one to click on someone else's link. Don't use a passphrase. Don't use a passphrase, because if you do, they'll need that passphrase. onetimesecret.com. The link is in the chat box. It's not, Ivana, I think that you're putting www. It's not www, it's HTTPS. There's no www with that link. It could be my fault.
Let me find it online.
I could have.
There it is. Thank you, Maria, or
Yep.
whoever put. So try that now.
Yeah. So
Now you
there
can
is no
click on that.
www. It's just onetimesecret.com. onetimesecret.com. Okay, we've got some secret links coming. See if you can be the first one to click on someone else's secret link.
I got one.
You got one with your
Mhm.
encouraging message. Remember, we're not using a passphrase, because if you use a passphrase, they need it in order to see it. They need it in order to see it. So this is something that you can do in order to help provide confidential information to students, to parents, sending them a secret message. Once they view the message, it's gone. They can't view it a second time. They can't view it a second time. Great, you guys keep posting those secrets. Posting those secrets. High fives for our secrets. High fives for our secrets. Yes, high fives for our secrets. Yeah, so this is a great site. If I want to send confidential information to students, I'm going to use this. If I'm going to say anything, I'm going to use this. Okay, so our last thing, the most intrusive thing is our phone. Our phone collects more data. As I drop it, our phone collects more data than anything else. More data than anything else. And it's always on unless we turn it off and we tell it to stop collecting data, right? So your students, they have their phones, the phones are tracking them. The phones are constantly collecting data about their use. So on your phone, I want you to find your location settings. Find your location settings. We've got our phone. We're looking for that gear location settings. Location settings. So it's in our settings. What do you see when you look at your location settings? What kinds of apps have access to your location settings? Are you happy with that? I only have one app that has access to my location settings right now. In many phones, like in my phone, I can tell it that this app has location settings all the time. This app can only have location settings while it's actually in use. That gives you a little bit more privacy in your location settings. When I don't need location settings on, I try to turn it off. I see a few of you guys also talk about that it's generally off. Think about what this means for your students. If their phone is always being tracked. They're going to school, they're going home, someone gets access to that, they can then pinpoint exactly where they are. Yeah, Kevin the guy says he has about 10 apps that share location while they're in use. So that's just a little bit better than all times. Because when it's off, it can still track it. So in that same place where your location settings are, can you find where you can clear the cache? Usually it's under a setting that's called storage. So in that same setting, usually it's under storage and storage manager or other. Can you find it? It's a little bit harder to find on some devices and a little bit easier on other devices. Someone has a question, what does it mean, send diagnostic data? That means that you send to whoever the manufacturer of your phone is about what's going on with your phone, about its health, its overall health. How's it working, how the apps are working, how it's functioning. Yeah, so someone's found it in system storage. Yeah, usually it's in storage. Because the cache is a little bit harder to find, but equally as important as deleting things on your browser, this is a great activity to have with your students who use their phones. Okay, so we're gonna finish up here. We're gonna do breakout groups. These are our instructions. Introduce yourself by only including your name, where you are from, and if you untie your shoes before you take them off. You're going to start with the person whose name is closest to A and work through the alphabet until you get to everyone. So you start with people who have A and then go to B, C, D, E. I assume that most of you are familiar with the alphabet and can figure A to Z. Discuss the following. What can you do to protect your and your students' privacy, security, and safety online? We only want to introduce ourselves really quickly so we have time to get to that question. Right? So if I'm in a group with Kevin and Ivana, my name is E. I'm first because I'm first in the alphabet, E-K-I. I say my name is Elizabeth. I come from the US and I do not untie my shoes when I take them off. I took this shoe off last night. It's still tied, right? Really quickly, my name is Elizabeth. I come from the US. I do not untie my shoes. The faster you get to that, the faster you get to the question, right? Are we ready, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm going to do about 6 minutes total, and there's about 6 people for each group. Is that
Great.
okay?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, everyone hang on because you're going to be propelled into a new meeting room. Hang on to your seat.
Przynieś mi też bluzkę.
Hi, Victoria. Are you from Poland?
I'm from Poland, yes. Okay.
Hello, Violetta. Alphabetical order. Hi, Roxalana.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Oh. Sorry, I have the. Okay, anyway, who's going to go first? Dorota, do you have a microphone? Dorota?
Yes, now? It's okay?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Sorry, go ahead, you guys. I have to do this. Anybody talking?
Not really. It should be alphabetical order, so I assume everybody's waiting.
Hi. Are there only two of us?
No, I think there's 5 of us.
Oh, five of us. Okay, but because I cannot see any names, so I don't know who should start.
You can start, Violetta.
Okay. Hi, my name is Violetta. I'm from Poland.
Cześć.
Cześć.
Okay, I'm Kevin and I'm from the United States. And I don't untie my shoes before I take them off. Just push
Oh,
them.
sorry, I forgot. I think that I untie my shoes when I get them off.
Okay, good. Who's next?
I can.
Okay, Roxalana.
Hi, I am Roxolana. I'm from Ukraine.
Go, Ukraine.
Yeah.
Slava Ukraine.
Героям слава. And that's all.
No, about the shoes.
About shoes.
When you take off the shoes, do you untie them or not?
Untie. Yeah. Who can next?
Okay, so maybe. So I'm Victoria. I'm from Poland, and I never untie my shoes when I take them off.
Funny, me neither. We're also supposed to ask about student privacy, right?
If you can hear me, then things are working. I did have problems, so I ran the microphone today. So, yeah. Okay, what else can we do to...
Cool. Have you ever done breakout rooms before?
Yes.
Yes, I did once or twice.
It's pretty fun with students.
Mhm.
Okay, we have about 1 minute left. What can you do to protect your students' online privacy? Anyone?
I asked them to keep all the passwords secret, not to write them in a visible place, not to share them, not, for example, there's the problem of the student that they sometimes give their phone to somebody else. I also tell them not to give their phone to anybody else, even for a second. It's your phone, you have to keep it with you, don't give to anybody.
Anything else?
The key is to teach them how to do it. because probably most of them, they just don't know how to do it, and they don't think about saving data and being away of everybody else.
Yeah, I think they need training. That's a great point, Victoria.
Maybe me. Do you hear
Sorry,
me?
we're going to have to end
Okay.
the breakout groups now. Great to meet you guys. Hi, everyone. You just traveled through time and space. Welcome back. As we
Your
wait for-
microphone sounds great. We've got to get high five for our teams. High five for our teams. Yeah. Hopefully you guys got some good ideas. High fives. I see high fives in our chat box. So as we finish up today, get to our Q&A, I want you to think about a commitment to change one thing to protect your privacy, security, or safety in you and your classroom. You're going to post that commitment on our discussion board today. Post that commitment to change one thing. Yeah. So the biggest question from our board was, how do I protect my students and myself when we meet via video, such as Zoom, Teams, Skype? Yeah. Zoom, Teams, Skype. So this is the most common question on the discussion board. And we've put together a list of tips for keeping these meetings safe, private, secure, and safe. I'm going to post this on our site at the end of our session today. Use meeting room IDs and passwords. Like this room, you have to have a password. Don't post your links or information on how to join on social media. Most of the breaches in these sessions are because you've publicly posted. This is where we're meeting. And then people troll through those and they find it. Disable participant screen sharing. They say, they come on, they screen share, they post inappropriate images. If they can't screen share, they can't do that. Disable participant annotation tools so they can't draw. Know where the mute all and turn off the camera controls are. Because as the host, you can do that. You can turn off the mute and camera. Use an educational account for the platform. Zoom has a Zoom for Education. Zoom for Education. And it has different security and privacy than for their public site. So if you can get an education account, get it. And then enable the waiting room so that you can see who wants to enter and only admit people you know, and turn off file transfer for chat. Turn off file transfer for chat.
Yeah, hi. Oh, I had my mic on. I was typing. That's a rookie mistake. Just about these, if you're using Zoom or some other platforms, not all of the settings to do these things are available when you are doing a class. You have to close the classroom and go out into the settings. So it's a good thing to explore those settings.
Yeah. So this was the most common question. So it's the one we wanted to fully address today. So now we are looking at our course site. Yvonne is going to plop that in the chat box. If you haven't registered for the course site, there it is. When you go to that site, you want to sign up as a student. I'm a student. I know you're a teacher, but for this class, you're a student. you're going to see that day 2 is available. Your day 2, your digital footprint. You go there. When you click in there, the first thing is where you're going to put your commitment that you've made today. I want to show you what this looks like on the discussion board, because I have a list of questions where you're going to do a wellness check on your own privacy, security, and safety. You're going to write those on a separate piece of paper. I do not want these in the discussion board. The only thing, item number 2, the only thing is I want your commitment to doing one thing for you and one thing for your students to help better safeguard privacy, security, or safety. Those questions are for your own personal use. I don't want you to publicly push them out there. We don't want to know how well you're doing. We only want to know what you're going to do better, what you're going to do better. In addition, on our main homepage, if we go back to where we clicked, there are these additional resources on day 2, including our one-time secret, our password vault, and a couple of things for you to look and explore, and then our high 5 cookies recipe. High 5 cookies recipe for those of you who want to give high fives. So we are finished for the day. Did you have anything else, Kevin, Ivana?
Oh yeah, we love to talk. I would like everybody to wave simultaneously to our friends who are watching on Facebook Live. Hey, Facebook Live. Okay, so bye-bye Facebook Live, because we're going to be closing it out now. So see you Facebook Live. But we're still on with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed today's session. There was a lot of information, a lot of useful stuff. Please put your hands together for Elizabeth, either virtually like this or really, yeah. Thundering applause. Thank you. And thanks so much to Ivana Bankovic here at the Regional English Language Office in Belgrade for being our moderator today. Good job, Ivana.
Thank you everyone for joining us. See you tomorrow.
Same time, same ID tomorrow. And go to Canvas today. Elizabeth, thank you so much. Okay, see you later, everybody.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I'll see you
next
next
time.
time. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
I'll see you
next
next time.
time.